Welcome to Nondual Christianity. Today's topic that we're focused on is, how can I be saved? How can I be saved? How can I get saved? This is really a core question that so many people ask in all religions. And in Christianity, the typical answer is something to the effect of, you have to believe in Jesus. You have to maybe ask him into your heart, would be an evangelical phrase that's used. But it revolves around believing in Jesus and his work on the cross, his resurrection. And the intent of much of that seems to be about how do you get to God. So the default human assumption is I'm somehow separate from God, and I need to get there. I need to be fixed. I need to be made worthy. I need to be changed. I need to get something that I don't already have. So the question of how can I be saved really assumes already that I'm separate from God and that I need to do something to fix that. And in the non-dual view, the answer would be, well, if that's your definition of saved, you already are saved. In fact, everyone is saved because no one is separate from God. Everyone has the divine essence as their very essence, as their core. The divine essence holds all things together. It's the very ground of being. So how can I be saved? It's kind of like if you use the analogy of a blue sky. Well, when is the sky troubled by the clouds? When is the sky not the sky? And the metaphor would be, well, the sky is always there. And even if a cloud might pass in front of your vision of it, it doesn't disturb the sky. So the divine essence, your essence, is undisturbable. It's always there. It cannot change. And therefore, anything that seems to pass through it, anything that would seem to feel as though it was separate, cannot actually be your essence. And so really what this comes down to is much of our experience comes from our default mode, which is misidentifying with our ego personality, with this version that we have of ourselves, this voice in our head, this story that we tell ourselves that we're somehow separate. And if we are fooled into thinking that that is truly who we are, then it makes a lot of sense to ask, how can I get to God? But if our true essence is the divine, there's nothing to save. So salvation as a transaction, as a way to get from one place to another, as a way to be justified or made right before God, is simply not possible from the non-dual standpoint. Really, what the question becomes is, how can I experience God? How can I enjoy unity with God? And those things can increase or decrease as far as your specific experience of them, because your experience of those things is going to be directly related to how strongly you are identifying with your personality, with your ego. So if how can I be saved becomes more of how can I experience more of my true nature, how can I experience more of the divine essence, who I am, then the answer is awareness. It's waking up. The Bible talks about this in terms of being justified, made right with God, being in Christ, the process of sanctification. All of these things are ways of talking about this process of waking up to our true self, of letting go of the false identification with the personality, and having faith in this deeper reality of who we truly are as the divine itself. This is typically kicked off by some sort of an experience of grace or experience of God, and it is the divine's movement toward us into our lives, kind of breaking through this ego trance. And then from that point forward, it's a process of stabilizing in that realization. The fun part is not only prior to perhaps that experience, but even after the experience, most wise teachers would say what you do is increase awareness. And the awareness not only helps make you more ripe for that in-breaking movement or the realization of who you truly are. But then afterwards, it helps stabilize and allow you to remain in that realization every day, more often through the day. So the practices, the spiritual practices, contemplation, prayer, reading the Bible, acts of service, giving, many of the things that we grew up hearing become then ways to increase our awareness so that our experience of our true essence is more readily available. And we are less identified with this false sense of separation. How can I be saved? You can't. You already are. How can I experience more of my true self? Through awareness practices. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today.